My background is that I was born in Mashupa and my father was born in Mukhobani. I grew up in Mashupa, then went back to South Africa. I came back in the 60s when the restriction on passports came about. And I spent some time in Mashupa. I started working for my uncle, Solomon Dada, and I always wanted to open my own business when I was young and working. I had 6 siblings, so I had to look after them as the eldest son. So the background is that I started very humble. There was a very humble beginning. I then went from Mashupa, I went to Kanye because I was looking for a business, and fortunately I found a business where Mr. Pitsana was in financial trouble, and he offered me the shop. I leased the shop at that time, and the person who was in between, Rakhaun was in between when I did the agreement. He came with Pitsana. So I started in Kanye, and I must say I worked very hard. I used to get up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, work right through to 11, 12, sleep for 2, 3 hours in the day, in the shop whole day. Then in the evening I used to go out to go and buy goods. I had friends who were prepared to supply me the goods. And I used to go every evening, come back, pack the shop, and then start doing business again. But I carried on like this till 1974. I went into wholesale from retail because I saw the opportunity, and wherever there was an opportunity, I would grab it. I mean, I would not stop at anything. I was doing the Matalwadi, Yadi Paul Hall. I did quite because it was free those days, Springbucks and what have you. And then in 1974, I came to Gaborone. I bought a business called Cliff Engineering, which was manufacturing trailers and welding, all sorts of things. I started doing that. But my passion was always cars. I then used to bring cars from South Africa. In those days, the Ford was very popular, as you know. And the dealer here was not very aggressive. So I had an opportunity. I used to buy these vehicles there, new ones, bring them here. Of course, I used to get into trouble because in terms of the franchise, I could not sell these vehicles. But it was legally, but not the franchisor was not happy at all that I was selling their products. I then applied for the Toyota franchise, which took me some time. I had a friend in Rustenburg, and in those days, you know, the apartheid was very strong. A non-white could not easily get a business or a franchise. So it took me a long time before I got it. Although here, Ace Motors had Toyota, then they lost it, they had VW, so I saw the gap in the Toyota product. Although at that time, mind you, Toyota was not popular. I actually looked at the product and I said to myself, I want to go for this product. I was given an opportunity to take Nissan or VW, any other, but I stuck to the Toyota. This gentleman in Rustenburg helped me to talk to Toyota, and they eventually agreed. Although they didn't want to give it to a non-white, they eventually agreed. And I got the franchise, and I started where Land Rover is now. That's where I started. It took me some time before I could get into government, before I could penetrate the market, because Toyota was not so popular. But you had to give the right service. In those days, Garages in Khabaroni were not very aggressive. The quality of service was very poor. So I had the opportunity of getting into the market. I came to know the people and I started moving forward. In 1978 or 79, that's when I got the first government order. Although government is very competitive, as you know, they get tender prices. You don't make money, but you put your product on the market. So since then, government started buying the Toyota product. But the product itself, as you see it today, they got better and better all the time. So Toyota Japan, I must say the research and the planning is very good. And they grew and grew. The Toyota dealership or the manufacturing belonged to a Mr. Wessels, Afrikaner in South Africa. He then died. When he died, they saw they couldn't manage it. They sold it back to Japan because it was a franchise from Japan. And they took it over again. And today you can see they are growing all the time. At the back of my mind, I always wanted to empower Botswana. And I don't know if you know Ray Subutu Modise. Him and me went into a business together. I bought out a business and made him a partner in those days. But I did a lot of work in Kanye. Mind you, Botswana used to come to me when they were sick, when there was funerals, when there was any problems. I had the vehicles, I could help them. I used to help them at night. They used to get me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I had many wholesalers coming to me. So we did a lot of groundwork in Kanye. I also, when there was no water in Toong, I also provided water. I did it myself because my passion lies with helping people. I always like to help people. And when I saw there was no water in that flowing area, I actually not provided, but the pipes were lying at the mine, belonging to the tribe. I then got hold of labor. I told them, you supply the labor, I'll supply the finance, and we do it together. That's how we brought this thing. But also we became very popular in Kanye because we did good service. I went to Lobatse for a while, but then I came back to Khabaroni. So in Khabaroni, whilst I was here at 74, I did not lose any opportunity if I saw it. Like at one stage, the BMW franchise was available, and I took the franchise. In those days, Toyota did not mind if I put BMW on the one side and put Toyota on the other side. They accepted it because the volumes were not so big. So I even took BMW. So that was the time when I got BMW. Then I took Mercedes, I think in 85, 86. I took Mercedes, it became available. The guys that were operating Mercedes, I knew they were doing a very shoddy job. And I knew that I could deliver and make it work. I then took the franchise, and I can only say Mercedes was a very righteous company in those days. They could not believe what we did for them. And they used to tell me, how did we miss you? You're doing such a good job. So Mercedes grew from there, and I took Mr. Tiboni as a partner, Mr. Inchindo as a partner, and Mr. Brink as a partner. They were my partners in Mercedes. Mind you, we had a lot of difficulty in getting the franchise. And we then wrote, Mr. Tiboni then was working for the government as a PS, I don't know if you remember. He worked on this with the German embassy. We also contacted Germany, and that's how we got the franchise. So it went very well, but in between, Nchindo and myself were very good friends. He was running the chickens in Notwani. After a while, he got into trouble, and he said to me, take it. And I said to him, Louis, I don't understand chickens. I know nothing about it. He says, no, you can run it, just take it over. But Brink was interested. Brink wanted, because he was in the chicken and cattle and agriculture. So Louis wouldn't want to give it to Bring, because Bring wanted it at a lower price. I paid him a price because he was my friend, and I had to pay certain creditors. So I did that, and that's where I started. I must tell you, I had an uphill in the beginning. It wasn't easy to run something that you don't know. And then, of course, I had my own dealership. But in the meantime, I took over Mahalapi. I saw the opportunity there. Piquet came for the Piquet. I bought a business. There was no franchise, but I put in Toyota there. And then came Francistown. I bought Francistown, and that's how I grew. I bought Rustenburg. I bought Lichtenberg. Wherever there was an opportunity, and people trusted me in giving me credit. Because I had built a very strong name, they were prepared to give me the products. The chicken business, I grew it from nothing. And even the one-day-old chicken, we used to import 100% from South Africa. And I said to myself, why should we be importing if we can produce it locally? I then put up the hatchery. And I was with a partner, some white company in South Africa. We then put up the hatchery, and we became self-sufficient. I started growing my business in the chicken industry because I got good management. Guys who knew how the chicken business runs. Of course, I was paying attention at that time. I then bought Dikukuza Botswana, which is in the north, and you can see it's also doing reasonably well. I wouldn't say very well, but it's doing well. There I got a group of young Botswana to come into partnership. But unfortunately, there were two groups. The one group pulled out after a year or two. I don't know why, maybe they needed the money. The second group stayed with me for a while. In fact, they are still with me, but in a way they are out because of them, I couldn't get tenders from DDF because they had to comply with all the secretarial work, as you know, paying births, getting certificates, they paid the taxes and all that. But they let me down badly, and as a result, we told them, look, let's get out. Why don't you get out? And the money is still lying with me. You won't believe it, I still got the money. I even got the dividends that is lying with me. Because the chicken business started in that way. Then I joined this company, Master Farmers and NutriFeed. They came into the play, and I'm in partnership with them, but they run it very independently. We've got the hatchery which they expanded. We've got the layers for the eggs. We got the mill in Pilani. We bought that. It was owned by Lovatsi Milling. We bought it from them, and so that's where I grew. And you can see the chicken business is now, I've grown it to a state where we are number one. But then in the meantime, you get Derek Brink was there, Richmart came in, Moleps came in. So there's a lot of players in the game. Choppies came in. So we are not alone. People think we have a monopoly. There's no such thing as monopoly. Even in the motor car trade, there's no such thing as monopoly.